you're listening.
I just don't care.
No one is ever kidding Michael Cole.
Of course he can roll a grudge forever. This is wrestling.
Welcome back to This Is a Work. My name is David Hensley. I am the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am here tonight to introduce your host, the distinguished gentleman, Robert Brafford.
Thank you, David. I'm here at Kayfabe Outpost 1 with my tag team partner, Chris, the Fashion Plate Barnes. How you doing, Chris? Yeah, about the same. Been that kind of week. Good to have you back in, man. After recording Forbidden Door with that woman I'm married to was pretty cool, but it's good to be back on an episode with you again. Let's see. So
Good save?
No. She's going to hear this.
She says she doesn't actually, like, she gets, like, I shouldn't be saying this on here. She gets conscious of how things sound midway through, so I don't know. If she gets bored really, really early, like 45 seconds in, I'll be safe.
Yeah. Watch this be the one that she's like, you know what? I'm going to listen to it all the way through so that I can hear the words of my loving husband.
I'm going to stick it out.
And hear him espouse his adoration for me.
Well, she's going to be meeting her tag team partner's newborn baby very soon, so I'm hoping there's going to be like a rush of good energy that wipes out anything I may or may not have done in the interim. But we'll see. And, yep, that is just a reminder for all y'all. Shelby Death Ray Patterson, new mom, still taking some time away from the podcast, which is part of the reason that Chris and I are covering this event. But Shelby's doing great, so is the little one, and we are just excited for her to get back on the podcast, but she is away for a very good reason. All right, so Chris, shall we talk about this show?
I guess.
All right, so we have Money in the Bank from WWE, held at the O2 Arena in London, apparently the first major WWE event in London since back in 2002.
I wonder what
Oh, yeah.
I wonder what might have prompted that timing.
Oh, they had a reported attendance of 18,885. That's a really good number. 18,000 people. I can't imagine getting more people than that to come to a wrestling show in the UK. But yeah, no, there was a segment later that did feel just a little bit flop sweaty about how a certain AEW show is doing as far as pre-sales. So,
well, I mean, famously, the British don't like wrestling.
Yeah, that was a downside of this match. I just felt like the crowd didn't really show up. Could have used a little more energy. Felt like we were back in the Thunderdome era. Yeah, no, honestly, this similar to Clash at the Castle, this was a red-hot crowd. They were fired up for every match.
Look, there's nothing wrestling fans love more than chanting, and you combine that with European fans who live for football, and they will chant the night away.
Oh yes, indeed. I actually wrote down some of their chants from the main event because they got pretty creative on that one. All right, so yeah, Money in the Bank, not a long show. I think after our last Double or Nothing, I think was something in the realm of like 11, 12 matches. Forbidden Door had 13. Mm-hmm. This nice, smooth 7-card match, or 7-match card.
It goes a long way towards giving WWE some goodwill when a show is going.
It really does. I've come around on their, a lot of events per year, but apart from the big four, they tend to be smaller. They tend to be, they have a pretty fast run time. It goes down easy because even if a particular match isn't working, hang in there for 10 minutes and there'll be something else along. It's an easy product to consume, which if you turn your head and squint is kind of like a compliment.
It's going to be, oh man, I just realized the O2 is going to be a slight problem for the AEW show because since they do tend to run longer, it's going to get annoying watching them make their entrance because the O2 famously doesn't have a space where they can do like a ramp entrance. It's like what WWE did there. It's usually like a floor entrance.
So let's see. Aren't they? Wembley's a different.
Oh, are they doing it at Wembley?
Yeah,
okay.
It's Wembley Stadium, so it's a football stadium that's going to be.
Then it won't be stretched longer by that, at least.
Yeah, I have no idea what the layout there is, but I'm sure that you're probably not wrong about the entrances, but yeah. I don't think any 4 AEW stars are going to be as long as a single Roman Reigns entrance, so it'll kind of balance out.
His was easily the longest, and even then it was still just a trek for most people to have to make it out to the ring.
Yeah, really. All right, so let's see. Money in the Bank. We start off with the title match for the men's division. We have 7 competitors in this one. Butch, the former Pete Dunne, Damian Priest, LA Knight, Logan Paul, Ricochet, Santos Escobar, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Good mix, I thought.
It was. I think whoever helped produce this match had a good idea of what the crowd wanted, because the first big spot they did was having all the other competitors turn toward Logan Paul and beat him down for a minute or two.
Yeah, there was no point where they were trying, like, that was always the cheap pop, is Logan Paul takes a hit. And the crowd was there for that. There's not to jump ahead, but there's a spot.
That crowd, I will again, there's nothing quite like a crowd like that, because the minute Logan Paul was in the ring and attempting to do something, the crowd went from raucous cheers to boo. It was on a dime.
You had that kind of those two ends of the spectrum. You had anybody who attacked Logan Paul immediately became a face, and anybody who attacked LA Knight immediately became a heel.
Yeah,
and they were booking it that way from the word go.
It was incredible, and again, it's like that's one where you can't get a better crowd to tell you what they want.
No, you really can't. And honestly, it's apart from the ending, which a lot of we'll get to, but it did feel like a lot of this was pulled out with the idea of, okay, what is going to get the best reaction depending on who's getting done to, or what's getting done to who by which. And yeah, Logan Paul nearly died in this match, and I honestly think he could have been carried out like unresponsive, and they still would have been chanting whatever the British equivalent of na 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 hey hey goodbye is.
He was in a better position than Ricochet was for that spot, because Ricochet took the unbroken table to his head/neck.
Yeah, Ricochet saved Logan Paul's life. I don't know if that's really something I would consider a worthwhile use of one's well-being, but you know, good for him.
He's better than most.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so
it was a fun match. It really was.
Very much so. Yeah, I was looking over it. Apparently, I like to always look at sort of the numbers behind matches. Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura have each been in 3 previous Money in the Bank matches, but everybody else was in one for the first time.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun. So I think you've got guys like, you know, Ricochet and Escobar, who have the high-flying lucha background. You've got Butch, who's more of a scrapper, but also has a pretty good moonsault that he could break out. And then Damian Priest became the big man in the match, which...
surprising, isn't it? Well, he's looking a lot bigger than previously.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also just, has the average height in WWE gone down a little bit in the Hunter era? It just sort of feels like...
I'm fine with that, too.
Yeah.
It's like,
we've got, like, Omos kind of up there at the far end,
right,
but you don't really have... let's see, like Gunther, Sheamus, McIntyre, kind of the old, like
until recently,
Sarah.
like the average size of a wrestler was at least 6'1" or 6'2".
Yeah, you'd have this like 3 or 4 inch difference between like the average AEW height and the average
Yeah.
WWE height, just because of how Vince liked to book people.
I mean, to say no, like to point out, there's like until he was paired with smaller people, Baron Corbin looked small amongst most people, and he's like 6'8".
Yeah, like he's a really tall guy, but he's not especially broad-shouldered or bulky, so he doesn't,
No.
you know, just sitting by himself, you don't really see it. Yeah, so again, great match overall. Some really some fun ladder spots. There was another bit of a heat Logan Paul got from the crowd was after the ladder was set up horizontally between the ring apron and the barricade. Priest is laid out across it. Logan Paul does a frog splash on him. Mm-hmm. The ladder does not break. It does not even bend slightly.
No.
Paul just hits Priest and bounces off. And after a moment of what had to be excruciating pain, Priest just kind of rolls off to the floor as well. And the crowd, in recognition of Paul's suffering, starts chanting, "You still suck. You still suck."
I like the implied, okay, that was good, but also fuck you.
That buys you nothing. Yeah, let's see. Butch, weird that LA Knight was far and away the highest, like, face of the night when you know, Butch was, you know, he's the Brit in the match.
Oh, that's how over LA Knight is.
Yeah.
LA Knight, like, when LA Knight and Butch went after each other, they were booing Butch. Like, then this is a crowd, I mean, this is one of those crowds where it's like, if it's anyone near the hometown, they're over.
Which we saw later when a hometown guy, a UK guy, made a return and the place exploded. But
and it's not like they hated Butch the whole time.
No.
They cheered him plenty, but it's just like as soon as
they
it
knew
was
who they
between
wanted
him
to
and LA
win.
Knight, yeah.
Yeah. Great bit where of your daily dose of Michael Cole ignorance when Butch grabs 2 tables out from under the ring, and then what Michael Cole describes as some kind of club with and Wade Barrett is suitably disgusted and says, "It's a cricket bat, Cole."
Oh, that's right. I forgot he didn't know what a cricket bat
And
is.
I was kind of hoping Barrett would spend like the next 5 minutes of that. Now look here, Cole. You've got teams on a pitch, right? And there's wickets set at either end.
I'm pretty sure that's anyone trying to explain cricket to me is it's like knockout gas. I can only just marvel at it from afar and I'm never gonna understand it. I know this.
I feel like it's like baseball, bowling, and croquet rolled into one is kind of my understanding, but that's about all I've got.
It is because there's a lawn bowling element to it. There's because the pitcher does not throw; he rolls. There's something that has to do with wickets.
I have from watching Shaun of the Dead. Probably I've seen more footage of cricket bat being wielded than I ever have of anyone actually playing the sport. But so tables get set up, but I think apart from the spot with Logan Paul and Ricochet, I don't think you had a lot of people going through tables. A lot of it was just ladders getting set up, people getting knocked into it, ladders getting knocked over. We can shall I go and talk about the Paul Ricochet spot?
Yeah. Because that starts with Logan Paul messing up.
Yeah, so it starts with they're both trying to get up on the ladder, and there's kind of a fun bit where LA Knight comes running and grabs Paul's leg to try to pull him off the ladder, and Paul kicks him away. Comes running back, tries to grab Ricochet's leg to pull him off the ladder. Ricochet kicks him away. Knight takes a minute and then just grabs the whole ladder and shoves it over, sending them both falling onto the ropes. They kind of land on the ropes, take a second to get their bearings, and then go for a Spanish fly off those ropes into the 2 tables that have been set at ringside. I think Paul jumped early before Ricochet had gotten himself fully into position, because it seems like Ricochet's a second behind him, recognizes that Paul's not going to get all the way over, and tries to sort of rotate the both of them. They apparently both came out okay, scared the daylights out of people in the back.
That's good news, because Ricochet looked really
looks like he just hit that table head first and then went down. And they I think Paul got back up and was in a little bit more of the match later. I don't think we saw Ricochet again.
Because after that was when he got up and was like, "Let's be friends, Damian Priest."
Yes. They had that moment of alliance, and it didn't last, but Logan Paul's a disgusting human being. There's no need to get back into that, but they are using him very well.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have him, this is what you do with him.
Just let him be like that. Just let him do that. Just as long as you just let him lean into that. Just let him be himself.
Keep him away from the title scene. Just let him.
Absolutely.
They seem to be setting up a thing with him and Ricochet at SummerSlam, possibly. Which
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine. I'm a little worried that Paul's gonna try to get over ambitious with his spots again and tear something midway through, but it's his choice.
Oh no, that would mean the end of his WWE career.
And he just signed a new deal. Oh, what a shame.
Be awful.
But so
should we talk about the ending?
Yes, the ending. The ending. That glorious moment of hope as everybody's been knocked away. LA Knight's alone in the ring. He climbs up the ladder to the top. He reaches up. He's got a hand on the briefcase, and then
suddenly forgets how to work a carabiner.
Well, they get very tricky when you're under stress. Is the thing. It's easy to do when you're on the ground, but the higher up you get. Yeah, and then it's one of those great moments in wrestling cinematography, because you see Damian Priest's hand shoot up from the bottom of the frame like Jason Voorhees at the end of Friday the 13th. Just grabs him by the neck, a monster out of nowhere. And he does a broken arrow off the ladder to LA Knight, climbs up, and gets the briefcase himself. So Damian Priest is your 2023 Mr. Money in the Bank.
So I saw a tweet earlier today about someone quoting Freddie Prinze Jr. from his time working on WWE Creative, and he talked about how sometimes he talked about how sometimes Vince would know exactly what the audience wanted to see and would just sometimes change things up just to make sure they didn't get what they wanted, just because he thought that was really, really funny. I don't know why I was reminded of that.
Yeah, it's definitely something you can notice. I mean, there's his well-known tendency, if you're wrestling in your hometown, Vince will have you lose. There was a lot of debate on this as to whether or not it was the right move. I don't see people being too upset that Priest has it, so to speak, as much as just that they had
he's a deserving person to have it. But man, the crowd's ready. Again, this is on a smaller scale. Feels like the WrestleMania call for Cody is like, oh, it's just not the right time. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, sure, because that crowd was white hot, and that crowd booed the ending.
Yeah, I was kind of looking over, and I'm trying to think. Okay, so WWE and like of the big moments they've had in 2023, they've had some that landed. They had Cody winning the Rumble. They had Sami Zayn joining with Kevin Owens to fight the Bloodline, and they
have a big one later on in the show.
Yeah, and so they it's not that they never do those, but yeah,
it's on their schedule and nobody else's.
Yeah,
if it's not when they want it to happen, screw you. It'll happen on their timetable.
And with a guy like LA Knight, I look at him and I'm like, his time he's doing great for he's in I think he's 40,
39,
late 30s. Okay,
he's 39.
Yeah, so he's doing great.
They've got a DDP on their hands if they do this right.
Yeah. Although, of course, Kevin Nash, I don't know if you saw that interview he gave where he just got weirdly intense on this idea of of LA Knight being what he called just a ripoff of The Rock.
Oh, that's weird. No one's ever bitten any style in wrestling before.
Yeah, I was just like, well, look,
how would you even compare two people like, say, I don't know, superstar Billy Graham and Hulk Hogan, or it's like all he's doing is being like super confident / cocky and talking on the mic. Yes, it sounds like The Rock because The Rock did that too. He got over with his words, damn it.
Yeah, just the fast talking, super confident, but charmingly so face, like it's a thing.
Right.
And yeah, LA Knight, like apparently I've not been watching Raw or SmackDown regularly, so I've been following. But apparently he has won, like, out of his last 15 matches, he's won one of them. LA Knight does not have a winning record, but he is still one of the most over guys on their roster right now, just because he is that charismatic. Almost.
That's how much that means.
Yeah.
Wins and losses don't mean anything if the guy is good, but you do need to start building him up.
Yeah. So I can kind of, based off that, understand why they wouldn't want to put the belt on him right now, but have him be Mr. Money in the Bank, then have everybody coming at him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to cash in for like 6 months if he doesn't want to. Just let him carry the briefcase around, start building up wins, and then maybe just once we could try. It's probably not going to happen with this set of Money in the Bank winners. We could have somebody not do like the cheap cash in.
Right.
Which has been the weirdest thing to me for a while, is that even when you have someone like Big E or who was it last time? Liv Morgan, nominally a face winning the Money in the Bank, they're still doing I'm going to cash in after your other defense, which is, I guess, practical, but always seems like kind of a heel move to me.
Yeah, no, they've had it in the few times where someone announced it. It's usually been a face because they're doing it the right way. But you're right. I mean, like it's become shorthand for like this person is going to run in at an opportune moment and try and take the title. Usually they will.
Another weird thing about Priest being the Money in the Bank guy is I don't think there's any real belief that he's going to cash in on Roman.
Probably not.
Which is weird because Roman's whole plot right now is that his support team is breaking down. He's more vulnerable than he's been in years. But none of us think that's going to be what happens.
Funny enough, I have a theory. It'll come up after. It'll come up later on after we get hit one of the matches. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm.
And without having seen Raw, I have no idea if I'm right or not.
I haven't watched it. I did look up some of the results, but yeah, it kind of indicates I think what they're setting up for Priest going forward.
Okay, so you can tell me if I'm right or not.
Yes, I'll let you know if you're on track with the evidence as it is so far. But yeah, so good match, I thought. Good ladder match, good mix of talent. I gave it 4 stars.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, so next up we have a match for the, what are they calling it now? The Undisputed Women's Tag Team Championship.
That's a lot.
Yeah, after they had the main roster women's tag team titles unified with the NXT women's tag team titles, they called Alba Fire and Isla Dawn up from NXT just so they could. Yeah. So.
No, I was listening. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, the tag titles. Let's remember, this is the thing that caused then Sasha Banks and Naomi to just walk out of the company, just to be like,
I mean, yeah, because
we're done.
Because they wouldn't let them defend them.
Yeah, it was just like, we want you both in like I think a 6-woman match, and Sasha's going to take the pin, and that's how we're going to build.
It was going to lead to single stuff for both of them. It was like, but we're the tag champions.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so the actual competitors in this match are Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, the defending champions, against Liv Morgan and Raquel Gonzalez. And interesting about this is that Raquel and Liv were the tag champions coming out of, I think, out of WrestleMania. And then Liv legitimately tore her shoulder during a title defense back in May. So they vacated the titles. Rousey and Baszler won them at the end of May. Defeated the NXT champions, unified the titles, and let's see, that was back in June. So it sure seems like they're setting up Ronda and Shayna for a long run as like a dominant heel tag team, right?
Knowing what I know now, okay, it makes a lot of sense the way it went the way it did. But
no, if you can see
yeah, you're
that.
right. No, I was like, you said, yeah, you give them the titles, and it's just like who's gonna get through them?
Yeah, that's the idea. And honestly, it's like, given that they've Ronda hasn't been exactly 100% in on wrestling for the last little while, and Shayna is a great talent, but has been booked really badly, I would say, since, I don't know, I guess Elimination Chamber 2020, was it 2021?
Where she tore through everybody? Yeah.
No, it was 2020 because it was the last one before the pandemic. But yeah, where she like just annihilated everybody else in the chamber, and then since then it's just been kind of Ronda's stooge, not a great run for someone with all of her talent.
A shame, because she is as I did hear later, she's very much into.
Yeah,
she's been all in on this.
And I think she is one of the best examples of someone with an MMA background transitioning into that, because you have a lot of kind of what Ronda's descended into of just like very unsafe looking like arm drags and tosses.
She's learned how to work.
Yes, Shane has actually been like, okay, what does wrestling do? How does my skill set fit into that?
Yeah. Riddle too, but he comes with a lot of baggage.
Yes, yeah. Shayna is the less problematic of all their MMA roster right now.
Lashley too, technically, but
oh wow,
but he was wrestler, then MMA, then he went back.
Yeah, he went the Brock path with things. But yeah, so this match, very short, only 9 minutes long, and it's not.
There was a good rhythm there. I like that they're establishing Raquel as a strong woman.
Yeah, they do a fun thing where, because Liv, I mean, babyface in distress is where she lives, but also just the idea that it makes sense that Shayna and Ronda would want to keep her isolated, because when Raquel gets in, she's too powerful for them to overcome. So they're trying to kind of work the weaker person, who's also, it helps, coming back from an injury, so they can target her shoulder. And yeah, so again, good storytelling as far as that goes. Liv was wearing, we had you and I watched this on different days. You watched it Saturday, I watched it Sunday. When I was watching it, Katie Bearden, we were having a debate over which Spice Girl Liv was trying
Ginger.
to. Okay, yeah. I don't know well enough to say. I just know she wasn't.
Ginger Hallowell famously wore the Union Jack outfit.
Okay, there it is.
I pointed it out as soon as I saw her.
It was that or Baby Spice were kind of the two finalists.
No,
so
Baby
Ginger.
Usually, I'm going to embarrass myself because of the breadth of my knowledge here, but Baby Spice usually wore pink or something similar.
Okay. Well, that was all I have to say about that. So next matchup, So yeah,
I liked it. The angle was kind of the camera angle. I mean, the camera angle was kind of bad in how they meant to kick this off, the ending. But the replays helped because there was another angle that showed it off. But it's like the end of the match came when I forget, it was Liv on the ground, right?
Yeah, Liv was in the ring, and Baszler backed into the corner, I think, to get some momentum.
Yep.
And
Ronda tagged herself in. And decided to go in there and slap on a submission.
And while she's doing that, she gets hit out of the corner. No, not out of Liv's corner, not by Raquel. She gets hit by Baszler, her own partner. Clotheslines her out, puts her in a Kirifuda clutch until she stops moving, and then storms out of the ring,
allowing Liv and Raquel to regain the championship.
Yep. So they do a, let's say, Tejana Bomb Oblivion combo, and yeah, it seems like we are setting up for Rousey versus Baszler. Apparently, Shayna did cut a promo on her.
That's what I saw
on Raw.
I did see that. I didn't think she'd be the one to turn face, but okay.
Do you think that's how they view it? I'm really trying to figure it out.
Oh, not at all, but that's how I'm viewing it.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of heat they're expecting her to get, just given how Ronda's relationship with the crowd has turned.
Especially because it was one of those promos where it's like, she's right.
Yeah. In the words of Bobby Fish, where's the lie? Crickets, 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 crickets. I don't know if you said that part out loud, but it was clearly on the
I was
subtext.
thinking it.
But yeah, so again, not a bad match, just very quick. I was
And
kind
again, in retrospect, it seems like that's the plan they came. Again, in my head, that was the plan. It seems like they came up with once they had it. Like once they knew when Liv would be back. It feels like.
It is weird because I have to think that when she first got injured, they assumed she'd be out longer. Because again, from May 12th to end of June is not that long a time, especially for a.
No, but thankfully, it must not have been as bad.
Yeah, so it was probably like they thought she'd be out for 3 or 4 months. Okay, vacate the titles, put on someone new. Oh, she's back. That's good. So all right.
Then they could resume plans with Liv and Raquel as tag champs, and then they could kickstart this feud.
And now the rumor I've been hearing is that Ronda, either her contract is about to expire or she's got kind of an exit option that she's looking to take.
Okay.
And kind of the last thing on her bucket list is she wants to work with Shayna. So it is likely that their match at SummerSlam is going to be Ronda's last for at least the foreseeable future in WWE, if that is to be believed.
Don't give me hope.
So we'll see. And, honestly, they might give her a win on her way out, but I would actually really love to see this be the thing that, like, catapults Shayna back into a really dangerous singles place.
It's tradition, and again, considering it's Ronda, I don't know how closely it'll be followed, but it's tradition. If you're on your way out, you give on your way out.
If Kurt Angle could do it, then so can you.
Damn right.
Yeah. So
Cena did it. Cena did it recently.
Oh wow, yeah. The Rock didn't do it, but I don't think he's ever acknowledged that was his final match.
No.
It was like against Eric Rowan, I think, Eric Rowan's the WWE name.
I hate to sound bad because I hate to sound like this because I like Eric Rowan, but he wouldn't do it for Eric Rowan.
Let's see. Yeah. So again, solid match. Just the thing that really bugs me about it is you would think losing 2 fairly high-profile talents over this would cause them to rethink the way they booked the Women's Tag Championship, and there is something that just kind of drives me a little crazy about the wonkiness of how this is getting passed around.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to see more build because I don't watch the weekly shows enough to be sure, but I've looked and nobody like Ronda and Shayna weren't even on TV from WrestleMania to I think early May was when they showed up again.
Damn.
So, yeah, it's just like they've been kind of scattered around, but they haven't really built enough of a dynamic for this to really work. Apart from just they're both come from the MMA
That's
thing.
how you know that team was built to last.
Yeah, really. As far as I know, there's only like one team in WWE of women that are actually like a traditional functioning tag team, like complementary styles, similar builds, and they're out of NXT. It's they were renamed last year, Katana Chance and Caden Carter. One of them is she was formerly Casey Catanzaro. She's dated Ricochet for a while, and she's got a similar like very gymnastic, high flying style. But yeah, they both. I would say they're kind of the female equivalent of Top Flight, just two sort of high flying, fast moving. Every other tag team I could think of, like Charlotte and Asuka were tag team champions. It really is just like jam 2 people together.
That's tradition, sadly, for WWE. And again, it happens so often. You said that, and and then I was like, they were, yes, of course. It's like I've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, like it started again. Sasha Banks and Bayley. That's a great starting set of champions on that, and then since then it's just been all over the place. So yeah, solid match for what it was. Love the booking overall, but I gave it 2 1/4.
Sure.
All right, let's see. All right, so next up, okay, we get into the Intercontinental Championship, defended by Gunther against Matt Riddle.
I believe you mean Gunther.
I've heard people say that, and
I've heard Michael Cole say
Gunther.
it. No, Michael Cole says it, and it drives me up the wall. I sat there on Saturday screaming, how does the American not know how to say gun? It felt like every time Wade Barrett said it that he was just elbowing Michael Cole going, Gunther.
More outright antagonism from Wade Barrett to Michael Cole would make me happier. There's everybody to Michael Cole.
But it was Gunther versus...
It was versus Matt Riddle in this one.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, this is not a hot take. Gunther is in the middle of a really amazing run.
He is.
And the sky is the limit for that guy.
There's going to be a point in the not too distant future where it's going to be time to elevate him.
I was very scared, like a lot of people, by the NXT call-up. You know, they're changing his name. They're making him lose weight. It's not clear if any or if both or any of the Imperium guys will be following with him. And then they kind of corrected out of all of that, and he's just been tearing it up on the main roster. His entrance is maybe one of my favorite things on the main roster right now.
Yes.
Just Ludwig Kaiser.
It's what they wish Roman Reigns' was.
Yeah, he just the announcement, the presence of like walking in with the coat. I will never not laugh a little bit about the fact that you've got his two guys in Imperium. One is an Italian and one is a German. So the big random name generator that WWE goes to turns up. All right, who's the Italian? Giovanni Vinci. Okay, who's the German? Ludwig Kaiser. Yeah. Their actual names are Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel. So
You know, names that actual Italians and Germans would have.
yeah, but for all
Sorry,
that,
what was the Kaiser one again?
Ludwig Kaiser. He's the guy who does the
that
talking.
sounds like you would get stopped by German authorities and they would tell you, this is an obviously fake name. Who are you?
Yeah, it reminds me of the Key and Peele sketch where they're pretending to be like Key and Peele are pretending to just be regular Germans and Leroy Heimer. Yeah, that's my name. Oh, the Dusseldorf Leroy Heimers. Yes. But yeah, so what I always love is they come in with him, but then they immediately just exit ringside so he can just take care of business.
It's a nice touch. It's like, he doesn't need our help.
No.
We're out there. We're out there for the entrance. He's going to do all the ass kicking.
Yeah, they're going to take his coat in a very cool way, that kind of like whipping it in circles as he steps back. And then, Gunther steps in. So, as you can probably tell by everything I've just said, I love Gunther. I love everything about his run. I am so excited to see where he goes next. This was probably the weakest of his title defenses, partly by design, but just that's mainly because I've been so spoiled by like his triple threat at WrestleMania or his matches with Sheamus or just
absolutely.
these really amazing, hard-hitting matches.
The Sheamus ones are
gosh.
just...
I want to go back and watch that Clash at the Castle just thinking about it now.
They're like the fight from They Live. It's just drawn out, brutal, and ugly, but still somehow a lot of finesse to it.
Oh, yeah. Just like they tell the story of just chopping each other's chests in for 20-odd minutes. Yeah, and honestly, I had pretty high hopes for this one just because Riddle, he's, like you said, MMA background, so strikes and grappling are very much in his wheelhouse. They came in with a story that he has a leg injury, I think in his ankle from a previous attack by Imperium. So, again, logically from that, Gunther is focusing on his leg for most of the match.
Right.
At one point, ripping the tape off. In a very neat moment, he rips the tape off, throws it just kind of offhandedly over one shoulder, and the referee just snags it out of the air. Like it's like seeing, like a samurai master like catch a fly out of the air to demonstrate their finesse. He just yanks the ankle wrap back in just to be like, nope, we are not throwing that into the crowd. But so again, not a lot that was wrong with the match. I just kind of was like, I had a vision of what these two guys could do if they really went at it 100%.
Right, but since they were playing the injury angle, which they played well, I mean, they did a good job with it.
And I mean, it's the kind of thing that is logical what a guy like Gunther would do, knowing his opponent is injured. He's like, all right, that is going to be the part of you that I hit harder than anything else, and I'm going to chop the sole of your foot, like not your chest, not your head. I'm going to chop the bottom of your foot to aggravate your ankle injury, and then put you in like a.
That'll work. There's an R in that word. I'll try to remember it. That'll work because I have had an incident where I have bruised my heel before, and right as it happens, you can't put weight on it for a while.
Yeah, and again, Riddle sold it like it hurt like hell. So yeah, again, I bought all of it. It was more one of those cases where it might not be fair to judge a match that happened against the match that I picture in my head.
True.
But I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that. And if this were setting up a rematch at SummerSlam, I'd be like, okay, they're warming it up a little bit. We're going to get the full thing down the road. It does not seem like that's going to be what happens, at least not in a one-on-one between them.
I think the one tweak that maybe might have made it better was the foot injury shouldn't have been a precondition coming into the match.
Yeah.
It should have happened over the match.
Yeah, like it's either something Gunther works or Riddle takes a bad landing 10 minutes in, and from that point on, Gunther's locked in on that, and that's what he.
Yeah, because you've got two guys who can work.
Yeah.
And work well. and to constrain that immediately, it seems like a bad idea. Like, you should have them start off, blazing fire, and then you can do the work there.
Agreed. But yeah, again, not a very long match. 7 minutes and 45 seconds, and Gunther submits Matt Riddle with a knee bar to his injured leg. So
he
he's
is brutally efficient.
Yes, which that's all we'll think about with that. This Austrian got into art school, so he's channeling things in. He's channeling his feelings into productive things, and we should all be happy about that. Wow.
No time for politics when you're wrestling.
Yes, exactly. So after Riddle taps out, Gunther is standing high in the ring, and then suddenly a familiar bagpipe theme hits.
Who could this be?
Well, I'll be honest, I was hoping for Kofi Kingston, but no, it was Drew McIntyre making his return.
The roof blows off of that place.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because I'll be honest, a part of it, I mean, I know Gunther's over, but I think part of it is they also wanted to cheer the European in the match. And it just had to be Gunther. Because the moment McIntyre comes back, they're like, we like that one better.
It's like horseshoes. Whoever lands closest to like the spike is like, that's the person who gets the most cheers.
It's true.
But yeah.
Just ask Canada.
Oh my gosh, SummerSlam. SummerSlam. What? Forbidden Door. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, so McIntyre makes his way to the ring. He has, I think he's been out since WrestleMania because he did have a triple threat with Gunther and Sheamus.
Right.
Different reports about why he was off TV for so long. The official line was that he'd been working a little bit banged up, so he was taking some time just to rest and recuperate.
That can happen. That makes sense.
Also reports that his contract is up in 2024, and he's not been super happy with a lot of the creative pitches
They
that have
haven't
been
locked him in yet.
Yeah, and so the fact that he's coming back on TV and it looks like he's setting up for a big match at SummerSlam makes it seem like they've come to an agreement, but he's still not signed in, and we'll see
At the very least, this could be them trying to. Is he like, we're setting this up, and if he's happy with this, then maybe he'll resign.
Yeah. If not, then a year from now, we could be seeing Drew McIntyre versus, what do you think? Honestly, Drew versus Claudia. That must have happened at some point in WWE, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, but I'd like to see him run it back in a different context.
It's not like he's going to go back to Impact.
No, I think he has outgrown that particular pond. But yeah, so they have a stare down.
Sorry, speaking of that ties in because I recently saw a video about how TNA kind of squandered LA Knight when he was there as Eli Drake.
Wow. Yeah.
And it coincides with Drew being there because he was the impetus of that happening. Of his singles run, yeah.
They
were a team before LA Knight went heel there.
Really, I didn't know
and that's
that
what sparked his big run, his attempt at running him.
Was it just like they were booking Drew over him, or what was the?
The idea was Drew was constantly talking for them and stealing the attention for himself, and then Eli had enough, and then he just kind of broke the team by attacking Drew.
Okay.
It was interesting.
I can see that as a great idea, but it sounds like it just didn't quite work out for them.
Did not work out. Impact is not good at this.
Dang. But yeah, so after a stare down, McIntyre hits Gunther with a Glasgow kiss and then a Claymore, and Gunther rolls out of the ring and takes his belt with him. But yeah, McIntyre sits and stands in the cheers for a while.
How shameful to ruin that young man's celebration. I mean, it would have been him with his hands behind his back, scowling dourly at the crowd, but
looking as happy as ever. He got I think he got married earlier this year, Gunther.
Right, and I remember he got engaged. Yes.
I think we've just they haven't been blasting over social media or anything, but I'd love to imagine him at the front of the chapel or whatever, just with that look on his face and just. Everybody's just staring at the pictures. And it's like, oh, you big softy, look at you. And one corner of his mouth turns up slightly, and everybody just gasps because they've never known him to show that.
That would be the kayfabe, but I have seen him actual behind the scenes pictures he's put up where he's actually smiling and being a normal person.
It's like seeing someone out of character. You're just like, oh, that's what it looks like when their face is moving that way.
Kind of like Christopher Lee in a way.
A little bit. I guess this guy could make jokes somewhere or just, sit around with a drink and have fun. But yeah, so I gave the match overall a 3 1/4 star, and
nice.
Solid story for what it was. Mm-hmm. Just can't really go higher because I can imagine both of these guys doing a lot more. I have to feel like because there was not a lot of announcement or hinting. Like McIntyre's return was a pretty big shock. I feel like Riddle versus Gunther was kind of the backup plan if for SummerSlam if they couldn't come to an agreement with McIntyre.
Yeah.
That's just my personal theory. But yeah, so fun match there. All right, next up, kind of continuing the range of just sort of soft, easy, in and out matches. Cody Rhodes takes on Rhea Ripley with Dominic Mysterio briefly getting between them.
I think you got that. Oh no, wait, no, that's right.
Yeah, this.
Okay, but this was a great match.
It was a lot of fun. This was, yeah. I don't know how they got to this place with Dominic and Rhea and how this is working so well for both of them.
It's magic.
But it is that thing I love in wrestling where something is so goofy and ridiculous, but both people are having exactly the right amount of fun with it.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
absolutely.
everybody just gets to enjoy watching them do it. And it's the particular way that they're having Rhea be the dominant one in the relationship without having that be like goofy exactly. It's not that like, oh, we're supposed to laugh at Dom because he's emasculated because powerful women are scary. It's like, no, one, Rhea is a legitimate badass and Dominic is a punk kid. Never mind the fact that they're actually like the same age, but he comes off as a dumb teenager
and until it goes somewhere different, they're into it. They're both,
yeah.
They're,
oh man, yeah, they're just like. And Cody comes out, and in a tremendously gracious gesture, he has allowed the Union Jack to share space on the back of his entrance coat, which is I mean, I think he in his back in AEW days, after he was addressing, you know, the lingering wounds of segregation by having his child. He's now, you know, he's mending the transatlantic rift between the colonies and the mother country. Just a goodwill ambassador everywhere he goes. I love Cody, and I think he got a lot of that was a very uncharitable reading that a lot of people had, but it's something that I don't think he's going to live down.
no.
But yeah, so it's just a case where Brock is not going to fly across an ocean for anything less than Saudi money. So
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, just like,
yeah,
I'm not going to England if I don't have to. You're not offering me any extra.
But Cody is one of the most over guys. Dom has some of the most heat. Just bounce those two energies off each other, and yeah, don't let it outstay its welcome.
Effortless heat from Dom.
It really is. And the best thing about the kind of heat he's got is you can have him lose over and over again, and it just works for him. He's not meant to be a threat. He's not meant to be credible. Like when if he gets a win, then it's all the more despicable. But if he loses, then he's just going to try something even more weaselly next week.
When the first time Cody went for the Crossroads, that man Dom turned to jelly to get out of that move.
Yeah, just like slither away.
I've never seen someone go that limp that effectively.
Oh, I'm sure Rhea could offer some insight on that point for him, but I don't think she ever actually attacked Cody directly.
No,
I could be wrong, but there would be moments where Dom would roll out of the ring, try to run away.
She would get between.
Yeah, Cody would chase, and Rhea would just plant herself and square off with him.
She knows Cody's not going to take a swing.
Yeah, which in another company, this could build to something. Like I would honestly love. Rhea is one of those, I think, who could have such a great intergender energy for one of those matches.
Oh,
Again,
sure.
Not going to happen in WWE, but yeah, and I think honestly Cody could put that over.
But that's great because she works it to her advantage. Like she knows.
Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Gonna hit me?
Yeah, she is just having so much fun with this. And so I actually looked this up because I'd missed when this happened on TV. She won the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania, then got drafted to Raw. So now they've renamed to...
She has the women's big gold belt.
The Women's World Championship, while Asuka still has just the WWE Women's Championship. Mm-hmm. So, just update your cork boards accordingly.
Like I said, women's big gold belt.
And hey, it looks good on her.
As good as that thing can look, sure. Honestly, as much as I will rag on it till the end of time, just because it just seems like Triple H just desperately wanted that belt back.
Yeah.
And then they had to brand a big W on it.
A lot of nostalgia.
But I will say I like that better than the other one. I love that a lot better than just the big W.
Oh yeah, that's that logo just does not.
No, no.
It always just looks cheap on a belt is the issue. Like AEW or like if you've got like a string,
and part of it, what part of it is, right? Because it's like, well, I mean, because it's been happening for years and years. But when teams will win championships, it got to a point where it was like there was always one guy who would have a replica wrestling title, like either it was the big gold belt or the other one, and WWE got to a point where they would send them to them because they knew they liked having them to show, hey, we're champions of the world. And I think someone, it's not an official thing, but part of it seems like they designed it so it's like when they have those belts and you're seeing them, there's always the big W right there, so you know where it's from.
Yeah.
Because people liked having the big gold one, and it's just like, it's great, the lineage, whatever, but it's like it doesn't have the WWE on it.
It doesn't. You're not getting your marketing money's worth on that.
Nope.
But yeah, fun match. I think Cody is now one step closer to having endured enough to challenge challenge for the world title again.
The best part was Cody winning and looking so upset that he had to even do that at all. He looked pissed at having been a part of any of that. And I know this is good acting on his part, but it was just great to see. It was like, I won this, and I really wish I had not been here.
This was not a great use of a plane ticket.
No.
But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It's again, incredible heat meets incredible pop. There we go. Thank you. And yeah, just nobody pretends the match is anything other than what it is.
They made a great pay-per-view match out of a match that would be really good on TV. And they really gave people their money's worth out of that.
Honestly, yeah, I would say that was the case for a couple of these. And honestly, the very next segment also felt like a TV production, but we'll get to that in a moment. I'm just trying to imagine telling somebody 2 years ago, Dominic Mysterio versus Cody Rhodes at a pay-per-view. It'll be awesome, and you'd be like, would Cody Rhodes in WWE or Dominic Mysterio being like a successful singles guy be the harder part to really wrap your head around? But
it's been really great watching Dom develop.
Yeah, he's found a good energy, and while he still can't quite do the 619 with anything like the speed that his dad does, that's not his fault because really nobody can.
Right.
Like Ray just he taps into some other dimension to do that. But yeah. All right, so after that, we actually have a segment. John Cena comes out. Which again was not something that had been advertised.
This should have been at least a third of the length it actually was.
Yeah, he comes out and I'm like, all right, John Cena's out. He's gonna pop the crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it goes on, and he's not just doing the usual like, it's great to be back here, thank y'all. He starts talking about how
what is this leading to? What is this going into?
He's like, hey, wouldn't it be great if WrestleMania came to London? And the crowd goes insane, and he doesn't immediately walk it back, but everybody starts looking into this afterwards, and they're like, no, the next WrestleMania is going to be in Philadelphia, and while they haven't locked down what the one after that's going to be, all reports say they're looking at U.S. cities. So,
right,
what is he doing here? Yeah, and again, this has been a great crowd so far.
Yeah,
and this actually felt a little sleazy to me. I'm like, these people are so hyped and so energetic, and you're coming out just to do the cheapest of pops for them. Don't do that. Don't disrespect the energy they're giving you.
But then the point of the segment became apparent because Grayson Waller came out.
Yes, and he wants to suggest that instead of WrestleMania coming to London, they should have a WrestleMania in Australia. And the crowd doesn't like that because Australia is where the criminals get sent.
But well, it's their fault for sending the criminals to the nicer country.
The weather is so much better. Yeah, so again, like you said, it's just, we're going to sit here talking about it for a minute or two and then we'll move on. But when you're watching it, it just goes on and on and on.
It is of a length that I don't understand. It's like this program was not. Was it hurting to meet a certain time limit?
I mean, again, like I mentioned earlier, not a terribly long card overall, but yeah, this if this had been on TV, this would have covered like commercial break to commercial break. This would have been a full act, and You could have booked something else if you just needed like another 10 or 15 minutes. Just you got two guys. I'm sure you could come out and
It's just weird because it's like I get the point. It's like, one, they get to see Cena, something, because he didn't get to go over a lot during his career because they rarely made the international stops. And then yes, you want to help get someone over in a segment. So yeah, Grayson Waller, of course, he's an Australian. And if he talks shit on England, he's gonna get booed because he's the Commonwealth. Ugh, what? But
it's not like the ingredients aren't bad. I just don't get why it couldn't be like a 5-minute segment. Waller comes out, cuts a 30-second promo, gets an attitude adjustment, and then boom, Cena's out of there.
That's essentially what happened, but like way longer.
Yeah, very, very weird. And again, we'll see if they have like a big announcement coming down the pipeline. It kind of just felt like they saw that pre-sales for, I think it's just regular sales at this point, but sales for All In at Wembley are crossing 75,000. It's closing in on being one of the highest selling.
They just opened up the last of the available seats, I believe, too.
Yeah, so there's a real chance that this could become one of the highest selling wrestling events of all time. So maybe I can honestly see whatever stage they're at with the 2025 WrestleMania, Vince like throwing those plans out the window and being like, we are going to book a bigger stadium in London and we're going to staple a second stadium to that.
I need AEW to get bigger a little faster so Vince finally has the coronary.
Yeah. I mean, his parents both lived into their hundreds, right?
I'm terrified of that. I need him to have gotten the regressive gene on that one.
Oh, jeez.
I don't think he's made it to his 70s.
Spite has gotten him this far, and it will get him a lot further.
It will power his corpse even after he's dead.
Plus, if anybody currently alive is going to be the first person to put their brain into a robot, it's going to be Vince McMahon. It's going to be an exact replica of him 30 years younger.
He's still going to have that mustache for no good reason.
Yes, but it's going to be his brain inside of a robot body.
I think robots.
Because fuck you.
Robots are the fallback plan. I think every big man who's come through WWE in the last 20 years, Vince has found an excuse to like put a one of those measuring tapes around their head just to be like, all right, how would this?
Okay, but
don't ask questions, Kali.
The good news is that robots technically aren't people. So if someone blows it up or destroys it, it's not murder.
Exactly. But yeah. Vince McMahon.
Man can dream.
Remember when they were pretending he wasn't back in creative? And they were just like, oh no, he's just overseeing the business side, but Triple H is still in and they just kind of stopped pretending that. As far as I'm aware, there's never been an announcement.
The reports are, okay, Vince touched this show less this week.
Yeah. He was not physically present for Money in the Bank.
I literally saw a report from Fightful that was like, oh yeah, no, Vince was all over this show for some reason. And it's just like, okay. But they do. They just say they let you know how Vince heavy shows are from now on.
Man. Well, we'll see what happens. Punk's prediction as to whether or not wrestling will get better and how things will go under Vince's doofus son-in-law, yet to be determined.
I feel like they can't do worse.
I feel like there was a really encouraging couple of months after Vince had stepped away.
And there was a noticeable difference.
Yeah, and now we're in a weird place where there's a tendency any good decision to get credited to Triple H and any bad decision to get credited to Vince. And which again is probably a great place to be if you're Triple H, but it's probably not that simple, and we're probably not going to see what pure Triple H creative looks like for a while now.
Nope. And if you feel like this discussion went on too long, this is about what it felt like watching that segment.
Yeah, so at this point, I think John Cena has tried to walk out of the ring for the first time, and Waller has interrupted him. But yeah, so again, he attacks Cena, Cena rallies, hits an attitude adjustment, crowd pops.
Yay, and because they know that segment's over.
God save the king. So that gets us into the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Competitors are Bayley, Becky Lynch, Io Sky, Zelina Vega, Trish Stratus, and Zoe Stark.
Yes.
Interesting on this one, it's got 6 competitors. Men's match had 7.
I will say overall, I enjoyed this one more.
I liked it a lot.
I think it was the right call to put this one on where it was.
Agreed. I think this one, I think the men's match was a good one to open up. An interesting thing about this match is you had different dynamics from the various factions that are in. You've got Like Becky just kind of seems to want to beat the crap out of Trish. Like she climbs the ladder, but half the time when she's doing it, it's because Trish is up there, and that's
Right,
just where
because
she has to go to hit her.
it's still ongoing. Their feud's still ongoing, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. It's like Becky's more inclined to just beat the crap out of Trish.
Yeah, like this is the match that Trish is in, so that's really why Becky's there.
And they did similar spots in this match, but I feel like they happened a little more organically in this one. Like the way they set up the ladder from the ring ropes into the one of the rungs of the ladder.
Yeah,
That insert thing, they did that a lot more naturally in this one.
agreed.
I forget what the exact setup was, but it looked like they tried to ram somebody with a ladder.
Yeah, like somebody
they
dodged
missed,
out of the way and it just
and it
fit
got
in
stuck there.
between
It's
the
like,
rungs.
oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah. Let's see. I think Trish Stratus is really all respect in the world for her when she probably could have done just fine coming back, cashing an occasional paycheck for a Legends appearance. For her actually be like, no, I want to come back. I want to work regularly. I want to have an ongoing angle, and not just like we'll have a singles match now. She's bumping pretty hard in this one.
Oh yeah,
like she's coming off the ladder. I think she delivered a Hurricane Rana to take Becky off at one point.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, she's got Zoe Stark as sort of her muscle. So
That was the difference in this match too. There was the angle of not Becky, Bailey and Io, and Zoe and Trish, kind of working as teams a little bit.
yeah, you had sort of some factions dividing things up instead of just every competitor for themselves.
Yeah, it was funny because it was Bailey and Io working in tandem, but Zoe was working for Trish.
Yeah, and then eventually Bailey decided to change that up, but we'll get there.
That was so good.
That was a great moment. Heel Bailey, can you believe there was a time where we just didn't think that was working? But yeah,
She also brought back a classic and yelled at Cole.
oh yeah.
She leaned out of the ring and yelled, "Shut up, Cole."
I will never get tired of that hostility because it will never not be warranted. It's wonderful. Just looking at the numbers on this one, by the way. So Becky actually has the most Money in the Bank appearances of any woman in WWE. She's been in 5 Money in the Bank matches.
Oh, wow.
She has never won, but she's been a regular. Bailey and Zelina have each been in 2, and then the other 3 were all in it for the first time. Interesting thing about the Money in the Bank, I actually looked at somebody who'd done the averages. Men's Money in the Bank cash-ins are successful 0.783 out of 1. So just under 4/5 of the time, a men's cash-in is successful.
Okay.
There has never been an unsuccessful women's cash-in. Every time it's resulted in the title changing hands.
Interesting. So they're due.
Let's see. There's actually another thing, and we'll get to this after the end of the match, but the current Money in the Bank holder for the women is the first person to have held on to the case for more than 36 hours since Carmella back in 2017. Everybody else who's won it
Like
has
cashed
either
in by the next night.
cashed in the same night or on the following Raw.
Interesting.
So yeah, we'll see how this one sticks around for a while.
That reminds me, when we get to the end of this, I have to mention something that makes me think LA Knight was originally supposed to win.
Oh, I'd be interested to hear that.
Yeah.
Just to cover some earlier stuff, Zelina, as is kind of her tendency, has sort of a cosplay-themed gear. In this case, apparently modeled after Frieza from Dragon Ball Z, sort of a white and purple styling.
Who had it?
Zelina.
Yeah, well, so did, Ronda Rousey also had DBZ modeled gear.
Oh, yeah. She
She
had the
was
Boo, right?
Majin Vegeta.
Okay.
I'll get through this real quick. There was a story arc where this villain named Majin. Was it Majin? Majin.
That was during the Boo saga, right?
No, Dabra, excuse me. Yeah, he was this devilish kind of guy who could possess people. And when they were possessed, they had an M on. Maybe I'm confusing it, but I think that's what happened. It was somewhere around that time.
After the Cell saga,
Yeah.
I'm completely lost, so I don't know.
But yeah, he could possess people, and when they were possessed, they had the M on their forehead. So that's what Ronda was sporting. I
Okay.
recognize that. I did not catch the other one though.
Well, the Zelina one I just saw because she'd posted about it on social media.
Okay.
Just and a lot of
I knew Zelina was wearing something. I just couldn't
Yes.
pick it out.
The one that threw me, so Becky comes out in a kind of green and gold looking outfit.
I think she was Banshee.
So definitely X-Men. Banshee, I think, is the one that makes the most sense.
There is a female Banshee.
Yes, or Siren, right?
So maybe Siren,
Yeah.
but yes, I think it's Siren.
Yeah, because we were trying to be like, is it Rogue? Is she supposed to be Jean Grey? But yeah, I think
you're both wrong. She was 100% Jean Grey.
I don't think it was Jean Grey. It would.
She was classic. She was in a green unitard with a gold like phoenix on it.
All right, man.
But Siren also
You're allowed
has kind
your
of a
incorrect
bird look.
opinion.
So, yeah, I know that Zelina absolutely puts a lot of time and thought into this. Becky, it may have just been like somebody suggested this to her and she went with it, because I've never gotten the sense that that's a huge part of her concern when she's picking her gear. Chris is holding up his phone so David can see. Is that Siren?
That's Siren.
And Siren actually is Irish, so...
Yes.
She's Irish.
I'll let you have that as consolation.
Speaking of entrances, there was apparently a bit of a gaffe by the announcer. Bailey was announced as being a member of the Judgment Day.
I heard that.
And then a second later, they announced Io as part of Damage Control. One of those things that you don't think can happen at that level, but hey, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of shouting. So
It's all right. No one's listening. We're listening. Botchamania is listening.
Oh, that's going to come up. A lot of fun spots on the ladder that they used, I think, because generally, like, female competitors tend to, on average, have like less mass. There's less chance of the ladder toppling over.
I was thinking that same thing while watching it. It was just like, yeah, they are a bit lighter, so this thing, they can do more stuff like that, I think.
One thing they were kind of doing that I thought was fun, you don't see it as often in ladder matches as you'd think, but like striking through the rungs to hit somebody on the other side.
Yes.
Like at one point,
Yes.
I think Bailey was trying to climb up and Becky just like punched through the rungs to hit her in the stomach. And
Yeah.
at another point, she grabbed Zoe Stark in a disarmor, like her armbar through the ladder, just pulling her against the metal. Io Sky, because, well, she's the genius of the sky, did her no-look moonsault off the ladder on the outside. Which,
It doesn't seem like something a smart person would do it. Okay.
yeah, you wouldn't think, but somehow she always hits it. Like, I cannot imagine not even like glancing over your shoulder, but like she just climbs up, gets in position.
That's a lot of
and
trust,
goes.
and
Yeah.
I admire that.
Zelina Vega did her, let's see, it's a Code Red / Canadian Destroyer, over the ladder, over the top of the ladder
right.
to Zoe Stark was on their
Yes.
side. There was a scary bit where her feet hit the briefcase as she was coming over, and it looked like she'd get knocked off course, but they managed to connect it, and she finishes the move through, and they both land on the horizontal ladder that's between the ropes and the upright ladder in the ring. A very nasty looking landing, but
Such a fun match.
yeah. And thankfully she didn't do that move on Trish because, well, you know, Canadian Destroyer.
No.
Well, again, this is a ladder match, Money in the Bank, so no disqualification. So the foreign object that enters, apart from all the ladders, is a set of handcuffs that
Yeah.
Zoe Stark gets out at one point.
Zoe and Trish try to handcuff Becky.
Yeah, so
they get one around her. They get one around on her wrist.
And then Becky kicks her away and goes back into the ring. There's a weird moment where Bailey is trying to climb the ladder, and Becky sort of fish hooks the free cuff into her mouth.
Oh my God, that was so good. She fish hooked her.
Which it looked incredibly painful, and I absolutely buy it. But as it comes down, it slips out of Bailey's mouth, and she kind of awkwardly has to readjust
Yeah.
to keep it in there, which gives the whole thing kind of a different feel.
No, I love it. No,
But
no
I
notes.
I love that idea. Honestly, anytime handcuffs get introduced in the ladder match, my gold standard will always be the time Sami Zayn handcuffed
That
himself to
triple
AJ
threat.
Styles.
That triple threat is incredible.
and was just laughing his head off as AJ had to literally throw him on his back so he could climb the ladder with both of them.
It's worth pointing out as that was going underway previously, Io was going up the ladder to get the briefcase, and the ladder got knocked over by Bailey.
Yeah.
Now Wade Barrett tried to cover it by saying, she couldn't tell who she was pushing off. She was just instinctively just pushing the ladder to keep the match going. But then again, of course, on replay, you see it, and it's just like, it's very obvious.
Oh, yeah.
You can't not know who's up there.
Yeah, Bailey is absolutely making that choice.
Yeah.
What's questionable is could Io tell who had knocked the ladder over? Was she just looking at the case?
I think she could.
Well, they seem to think no, because they're working together for a minute, and then at the end, Becky and Bailey are both on the ladder fighting each other.
They're fighting each other. They're like trying to hit each other through the ladder as they work their way up.
And then Io shows up, grabs the free cuff from Becky's wrist, claps it around Bailey's wrist, so they are now handcuffed to each other through the ladder.
She climbs over Bailey, which is a conscious choice.
Yes, and makes it up to the top, and Io Sky becomes your 2023 Women's Money in the Bank contract holder.
And that leads into my theory was that LA Knight was going to win, because earlier they played a promo about, the fact that 2K23 is on sale, and they had some promotional stuff that you could redeem a code for, that they showed you for part of their whatever part of it is that card game thing that's in the game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that on.
Well, they ran a code for it, and the two they were offering for it were Io Sky and LA Knight. Who, well, one of them coincidentally won the women's Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And as like when I was looking at that, when I looked at that, I saw dogs. Did they tip the winner? And it turns out they did. So it leads me to believe I think LA Knight was originally going to win that match.
Huh. Yeah, that does kind of lean credence to the Vince thought it would be funny theory. Although Damian Priest what happens with the match with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor later, so it had to at least have been decided a little bit in advance.
No, I think they changed it, but I think they also had plans for it too.
Yeah.
That'll be fun to talk about there.
Yeah, but no, I'm very happy for Io Sky because she's been fantastic since NXT. Seeing her, she had a kind of brief appearance on Lucha Underground, but there's just a scene where Penta, just to diverge into Lucha Underground for a minute, it was this kind of show. Penta gets into a feud with an Asian triad gang.
Of course.
And he goes through a gauntlet match where these three women each come out and attack him. One is a wrestler I'm not super familiar with, but the second one is Kairi Sane, and the third one is Io Shirai, who's now Io. So it's just like, oh wow, wait, these are really big deals in Japanese women's wrestling, and you just get to see them go in this one after the other match against Penta. I got to go back and rewatch Lucha Underground. That show was insane. But yeah, so Io Sky got her chance at the women's title, and she's still, nominally at least, she's still in a faction with the woman who tried to knock her off the ladder to keep her from getting it. I will not weep if this dissolves Damage Control, because that faction really hasn't gotten a chance to live up to the potential of the people involved.
Yeah.
But if this is how it goes, that was a really fun way for it to go out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I give that one 4 stars as well. Just really solid, really fun ladder match.
Well deserved.
Let's see. All right, so now we're up to the penultimate event of the evening, the the World Heavyweight Championship is being defended by Seth freaking Rollins against Finn Balor. So, yeah, Seth is doing his damnedest to put some real prestige on this belt, which all respect to him. Finn, he is starting to seem by an ever-increasing margin the person who is getting the least out of Judgment Day of its members.
Yeah, kind of.
And, he's challenging for the secondary world title now. He had a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania, so it's not like he's doing nothing, but it just sort of feels like, Priest is Mr. Money in the Bank, Dom and Rhea are both shooting into the stratosphere, and Finn is still just a guy who can have good matches, but that seems to be all that creative really sees him as.
I feel like Judgment Day could be winding down, and this match lends credence to that. So
it does, but this is another one that kind of in the vein of Gunther and Riddle. Based on the two people involved and what I know they're both capable of, I was expecting a little bit more than we ended up getting, especially because in the build up to this, Finn called back to his match with Seth at SummerSlam in 2016, which is when they just unveiled the Universal Championship. Finn beat Seth to win that title, become the first Universal Champion. Yeah. But he separated his shoulder, I think, during the match, or suffered some kind of serious, legit injury and had to vacate it the next night. So his sort of attitude is, I had a chance to be an inaugural champion too. You took that away from me, and I'm going to do that to you now. Not a bad build. Yeah. And Seth was selling a kayfabe rib injury when they were doing this, so you had a lot of Finn targeting that.
Gotcha, yeah.
So, again, decent story, good narrative spine, but I don't know. I just know both of these guys can go, it feels like 10 or 15% harder than they really got up to.
I feel like that's because they took backseat to the story they started developing or showing off after Damian Priest wins the Money in the Bank, which is he comes out ostensibly to lend support.
Yeah, he just kind of comes in and then sits at ringside, but he's got the case with him.
Yep.
And at first, it actually seems to help Finn because Seth looks at him kind of warily, and Finn grabs him for a roll up. Doesn't quite get a 3 count, but it seems like okay, he's distracted his ally's opponent. So, but again, if he's out there with the briefcase, then whoever wins the match is going to be the person he cashes in on. So
yeah, and Finn at some point finally has enough and goes out and confronts him.
Yeah, just like, what are you doing out here?
Damien's just quiet. He's not early, he's not responsive. And it distracts Finn.
It does. And in fact, even when he seems like he's got the advantage, because he hits Seth with 2 consecutive of his coup de grace. One off the announce table when Seth's on the outside, one off these steel steps, and then he rolls him back into the ring, goes up to the top rope for the finisher, and then just kind of looks over. He also could have been checking to see if anybody was coming for the ring ropes with wire cutters, because that has been a problem they've had.
Turnbuckles were a problem.
Yeah, you're going to get those. But no, he is looking over because Priest gets up and starts to walk towards the ring holding the case. And that enables, that gives Seth enough time to roll clear when Finn goes for the move. Before he can get up, Seth hits him with a stomp and pins to retain. So yeah, 12 minutes. Again, interesting decision.
Yeah. And then a post-match confrontation between Finn and Damien, which funny enough also effectively cuts off Damien's ability to possibly cash in.
So I'll go ahead and tell you, they took that further on Raw because Seth ended up having a match against Dominic. Priest came down and hit him, I think, with the Money in the Bank case, causing a DQ.
Yeah.
Goes to the outside. I might be wrong about him hitting with a case. I think he just attacks him. And is kind of circling up with Rhea and with Dominic for a minute. And then he picks up the case and he starts walking towards the ring, and he climbs in, and Seth is still on the ring laid out trying to get back to his feet. And then Finn comes in from the opposite side, attacks Seth, starts wailing on him, knocks him into Priest, which causes Priest to fall off the apron to the outside. Seth manages to knock Finn away enough to roll out of the ring, gives Dominic a pedigree for good measure, and then sprints to the back. So, yeah, Priest can't cash in if Seth isn't in the ring. So
right.
That's the follow-up on Raw.
That was my thought upon seeing the end of the match. Was like, this, it could lead to the end of the Judgment Day, because it looks like they're going to start feuding to the point where it's like they both want Seth, and then they end up. I feel like it's going to end up with them fighting over the briefcase.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some people are saying we might see like a briefcase on the line match at SummerSlam.
Right.
I don't think they're both going to be in Judgment Day when this is over. I think the stable might still be there, but you might just see probably Finn, I would think, go off on his own back into singles realm. I
bet so.
I can see Priest, Dom, and Rhea going on. Maybe if they have somebody else they want to recruit.
All I'm saying is, if you have a beard like that, apparently you're just not meant to stay in Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Because it looks so much like Edge's when they kicked him out.
Actually, they've said Edge is going to be coming back soon, so it'd be interesting if he made his return to the stable or just went back to feuding with them.
I feel it'd be funny if he helps Finn feud with them. They need someone else in the stable, but it would be funny to me.
But yeah, so I feel like the fact that we've talked so much about that last segment and the fallout in the next night of Raw kind of says something about the match itself, which again wasn't bad. These are two really good workers.
No, but it's very story heavy, and there's a difference when, even if it's a good match, there's a difference when it's story heavy instead of telling a story in the ring.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking over my notes for it, and even most of the stuff I have when because Finn enters first, then when Rollins comes in, the crowd, as they've been doing more and more lately, do their whoa.
Oh yeah! Wow, that went on forever.
Yeah, Seth just stands on the apron, facing the crowd, and they're just going and going, and you can see Finn he's not wearing a watch, but he wants to be looking at his wrist and tapping his foot.
I really wanted Finn to just go ahead and just blast him. It's just
I'm really surprised he didn't do that around the 45-second mark.
Because you can't do that. They will do it forever if you let them.
Yeah, and again, Seth Rollins as a face he's a troll. That's kind of been his whole thing.
Yeah. To
the point that it's not really clear when he turned. Because you could argue that
there's characters like that. It's just there's characters where it's just they turn, but it's just because the crowd got won over.
Yeah, you're going to start cheering me, and I'm going to stop cheating, and then everything else is going to be the same. But yeah, so again, solid match. This still doesn't really feel like a real championship, not through the fault of Seth Rollins, but just because this would all have made a lot more sense if Cody had beaten Roman, and then they'd come up with some reason for him to only hold the WWE title, and then Seth was running around with the Universal. You could.
Oh yeah, that could have easily just to backseat book for a second. That could have easily have been Roman claiming, "You only beat me for one.
Yeah.
You only get that's the one you get. he's like, you didn't beat me for 2 titles. You beat me for 1. And then he could have, like Gollum, just held on to his precious.
Or no, Paul Heyman is holding on to those. Roman holds on to Paul Heyman and carries him out of there.
Yeah. While Heyman's making a very tough, mean mug at him.
Yeah. We can get into this a little more with the next match, but it really does seem like they had the next 6 months planned out with Cody coming out as the world champion and Roman just deteriorating. And then when they decided at what had to be very late in the game to have WrestleMania go a different way, they didn't really bother changing anything else.
No, in fact, people had to come out and hold water for it and say, no, the plan was Cody supposed to lose, and he just wasn't, it wasn't his time yet.
Yeah.
It's like, when is it going to be his time? He went off and founded another company and helped it get successful, and then came back.
He's going to go off and found 2 companies this time with blackjack and hookers.
It's like, you need to stop making Cody Rhodes upset. He keeps founding competition.
Your business will not survive if he does this again. But yeah, so I gave that one 3 stars.
Nice.
So,
it was a solid
match.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's kind of a fair amount on this card. Just kind of goes quickly. Nothing really wrong with it.
Here's the thing. I am all for that versus how I felt in the past. So
yeah, when I agreed to take this over, I say agreed when I came
when you
in
were
to take this over.
strong-armed.
I was ready because we have been at pay-per-views where we've both been furious and like we've walked home and I was like, all right, there's going to be one where I get to come in and I just get to cut loose and say what I think about Vince McMahon and how it's been good product, damn it, so far. Not like the best, but it's like, there's not a lot that gets me angry even when I'm just kind of like, again, WrestleMania, the night 2 of WrestleMania, I was pretty pissed off when I was heading home from that.
It was such an emotional cock block.
Yeah. And what I will always say is the reason that you have a heel, the reason you have a great heel is so that a great hero can rise to defeat them. That is the fundamental thing of storytelling that we connect to in wrestling. And to have the bloodline disintegrate before somebody beats Roman means nobody's going to beat like the great villain Roman Reigns. They're going to beat the shell of him that's left after the Usos are done.
This could have still happened with, like you said, with a Cody Rhodes victory. And they could have been the kickoff.
Yeah.
The impetus.
And Cody Rhodes comes out of that as like the hottest face they've had since John Cena. Like, just a level of like, this guy has come back. He's had this great triumphant story, and screw you, that would have been an amazing end to that part of his story. Not you, Chris. Screw like all of the vague people over there that I'm gesturing
I
at.
hear what you're saying.
But yeah, I guess that takes us into the next match, the main event, the Bloodline Civil War Tag Team match.
I hate that name. Continue.
Yeah, between the Bloodline, which is now down to the.
I think you mean the War of Samoan Aggression.
Or as Roman Reigns.
I wanted to give that a second. It was good.
Or as Grandma Anoa'i calls it, that great unpleasantness. Anoa'i? Actually, I've never been sure how to say the Samoan clan name that they're all part of.
I'm not going to
Don't say clan.
Anyway, moving on.
So anyway, Family Feud commenced.
Yeah, so Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, accompanied by Paul Heyman, against Jay and Jimmy Uso, who have finally taken their leave of Roman. They've super kicked him 4 or 5 different times, but the last one finally took.
It was very amusing.
It's been satisfying every time. Because you watch those replays they do.
He has the nerve
segments.
to look surprised every time.
Roman sells those kicks like he's dying in a Vietnam War movie. Like he's that guy who's like on the ridge getting riddled with bullets, just slowly toppling to the ground. That's how he sells their kicks. It's definitely a very satisfying thing after all these years. This is a hard match for me to talk about because I feel like I need to segment it between the first 10 minutes, which are kind of everything I hate about Roman Reigns matches, of the stomping around and the shouting, and just I'm not going to wrestle for more than 10 seconds out of every minute. And then after about 10 minutes, and it's a 32-minute match, they click into the story that they're telling, and that story actually uses the character arcs that they've built for these 4 guys across the years they've been telling this. And it's really good from there. So scoring this thing was a pain because I was like, there was a part of it that was driving me crazy, and then when it clicked, it was really, really good. And I don't know how to square all of that, but
It's just like I said before. I mean, yes, it's really, really good. It's just really, really too late.
yeah, I've accepted that like the right ending of the Bloodline story isn't going to happen. And so despite everything I just said about WrestleMania, I'm like, okay, I need to look at where they are now. They can't go back and rebook a match that happened years ago.
You're right. They could do worse.
Yeah. So now we're looking at, okay, the version of the end of the Bloodline story that happens while Roman is still holding, was 2 out of 3 world titles that they have here.
He technically still is because he's refused to give up the split titles, even though he's got the combined title now.
Yeah, so Paul Heyman, I think he's just like weighing Paul Heyman into the ground with all the belts he has to carry.
Which I do appreciate that as a sign of Roman's insecurity.
Yeah, that he's like, just one belt wouldn't feel like enough.
No.
So the thing about this is that Roman, again, between when he first won the Universal Championship and Payback back in August of 2020, he took it off of the Fiend Bray Wyatt in a triple threat match. He has defended his title 28 times. 3 of those have been this year against Kevin Owens at Royal Rumble, Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber, and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
Right.
Because the plan, no matter what they say, the plan was for him to lose it. Everything since then has been a tag team match. He hasn't been defending his title in singles action.
Right.
And they may be setting that up for SummerSlam, but at this point, it honestly would not surprise me if...
No. The way things are breaking down now, it is ending at SummerSlam.
Seems like Roman versus Jay is going to be the final thing there.
Something is going to happen, but it's definitely going to be... it's definitely going to happen,
Yeah.
I think.
But so...
Aw, look at you guys having hope.
Well, there's a very specific reason, and it happens at the end of this match.
Oh, what have I always said? Hope is a mistake.
Dave,
I hope you guys are prepared for 5 more years of Roman Reigns.
just because you've been right every previous time...
He fell asleep during this match. He doesn't know.
I did fall asleep during this match.
Which I don't blame you
Yeah,
for.
again, like I said, first 10 minutes, very draggy. It's the Roman Reigns stomping around. When you want actual wrestling done, Solo gets tagged in and he works off the Usos for a while.
Look, they wanted him to have his 1,000 days, which means nothing.
I'm sorry, if I'm understanding it correctly, what you're saying is next month at SummerSlam, Roman is finally going to drop the belt?
It's August 5th, but yeah.
I don't think he's going to drop the belt, honestly. I think he's going to have a final match with Jey Uso, and that's going to be the end of the bloodline. He's probably not going to actually lose the belts till Survivor Series, maybe.
I'm thinking Survivor Series 2026.
Yeah. We'll see what they do, because, and again, we can get into this after the match. What they do on Friday at SmackDown is probably going to tell us a lot about what the plan is for SummerSlam.
Sure.
I don't think the plan is for him to drop the titles to Jey Uso.
Well, no. I don't think it's going to be to Jay, but I think he is going to lose it by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Shut up.
This year.
Yeah, which year are you referring to?
This year.
All right, but let's talk about this match that happened, because again, after a draggy start, I really like what it dials into. Because you've got...
Well, yeah, because Roman has to start moving if the Usos are going to actually hit the spots they're known for.
Pretty much. But you really do have a good story of the Usos being a natural tag team. They're on each other's rhythm. They have a lot of tandem moves. And Solo and Roman are both really strong singles guys, but their style isn't... is just to sort of try to hit both of the Usos together, whereas the Usos are working as a team to take down whoever's in front of them. And that's a fun dynamic to have 2 strong singles guys against a cohesive tag team as sort of the spine of this match. And again, works really well. Like anytime Solo and Roman builds up some real momentum, like the other Uso is there to rally them as a unit. It's a nice thing of like, okay, just a reminder of how much the Usos have been kind of the reason this all works to this point. And like you said, to make it clear that we are down to the last days of this whole story.
Well, I hear on Friday there's going to be a tribal council.
Yes, Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, is on tribal court trial.
Something.
Yeah.
Tribal.
Lawrence Tribe will be presiding. No legal Twitter jokes here? Okay.
Musical performance by a tribe called Quest.
But yeah, so and another thing that was nice for me in this match was realizing they're not going to have the spot that has ended every Roman Reigns match for the last 2 years, which is when a member of the Bloodline suddenly pops up and attacks his opponent.
They can't. They're all there.
Yes, everybody's in the ring unless, I don't know, like they have like a baby niece who's decided to break into wrestling who's going to just run up and punch Roman in the balls or something, which also would have been amazing, like the littlest Uso. But no, so yeah, you just really do have these four guys in the ring. Heyman is there, and as always, his expressions and reactions to things make everything 100 times better.
Yeah.
But he doesn't actively interfere apart from just a couple of spots where he, consults with Roman and Sikoa. But I don't think he ever like lays hands on the Usos or tries to distract them or do anything else. Which, again, nice bit of storytelling that he is so confident that Roman and Solo have this that he's not trying to cheat the way he might if he, was less secure. It also could be that he might try to side with them if he thinks the tide is going their way.
Sure.
Because Heyman is a survivor in that way. The crowd, I think, got a little slow during that first few minutes, but once the pace picked up, so Roman was on the receiving end of a couple of chants from the crowd. Like you said, that's a UK specialty. I've wrote down a couple of them here. It starts with just a very basic "fuck you, Roman."
Right.
Just get that going. And then Roman is a wanker.
There was also tribal wanker.
Tribal wanker gets used. And then if you hate Roman, stand up. And Roman
that is for them a football special.
And Roman very angrily sits down at that moment because screw y'all. But yeah, no. Again, once the pace picked up, a lot of really fun spots. At one point, Roman tried to line up a spear on Jey Uso, only for Jimmy to come in on the opposite corner, and both Usos take Roman down with a spear.
Yep.
He gets Jimmy in that guillotine choke that he's used to finish out a couple of matches, and Jimmy gets to do the hand drops. No, he clenches his fist and powers out.
That's when you knew something different was going to happen this time. The face actually got to do that.
Yes, that it didn't just end the match with Roman like murder hugging them. You get the 95th ref bump of Roman Reigns' title defense because he eventually, I think Jimmy kicks him out or powers out of it, and Roman hits the ref who goes flying out of the ring. And here was my kind of, oh God, it's going to go like this moment of despair, because with the ref out of the ring, the Usos hit a 1D on Roman, they pin him, and the crowd's chanting, but there's nobody to count. And I was just like, oh, it's going to be this again. They get the count, there's nobody there, and then Roman and Solo are going to rally, they're going to win. And there are some moments where it feels like that, because Solo and Roman combine their finishers. Solo does his Samoan spike at the same time that Roman is spearing, I think that was Jimmy. And then Roman stacks both Jimmy and Jey the same way he did for Daniel Bryan and Edge. And they kick at it too.
Yes. I have to talk about the end spot because it's actually really well done.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
The end spot where Roman, I forget which one he was going to pin. Was it Jey or?
It was Jimmy. No, sorry. Jey is where he has the particular. Yeah,
yes.
That was Jey.
So I'm glad this is an audio podcast. They couldn't see that hand motion. So it's funny.
It was obscene.
Well, it was because he's going to pin Jey. And Roman's so confident he doesn't do a normal pin. He straddles him across the chest, over his arms, basically. And surprisingly, Jey rolls a shoulder. But when he rolls the shoulder, he rolls the arm that's between Roman's legs, runs his arm up, and catches him in the balls. It's so natural because it's like you look at it first, it's like, wait, you got him in the balls? Yes, but not even on purpose. He was just rolling his shoulder. Roman played himself.
Yeah.
And got hit in the below the belt, and it's just ref didn't see it because Roman covered his arm, so
he was on the far side. And so it finally ends with Jey hits a splash on Roman and pins him. It is the first time that Roman Reigns has been pinned in 1,294 days.
Correct.
December 2019, Baron Corbin was the last person to pin Roman Reigns at tables, ladders, and chairs. Just for reference on how long ago that was, the Revival helped Baron Corbin in that match. That was his backup.
That was the big dog phase where he got pelted with dog food.
Yeah, that was the moment where he was just like, all right, I'm going to step away from this pandemic for a little while. When I come back, we're going to change some things. I feel bad for Baron Corbin because I feel like he's just off in a corner somewhere, and he's like, one of the few interesting things you guys let me have, and now what else? What else?
I wouldn't, unless he does something terrible, and I mean terrible. He's pretty much got a job for life there. They love him.
Yeah, he's apparently just one of those beloved guys in the locker room,
Yeah.
like the safest guy to work with. I joke, but I think he did just get to do that. He went back to NXT and actually got to do his lone wolf thing again that he
cool.
used to do back when he was there. So he actually, they're cycling him back in the way they've been doing with some of the main roster guys.
Very
So
nice.
yeah, good for him.
All right, and that concludes Money in the Bank.
Yeah, so the Usos take the win. Roman Reigns is defeated. Oh, it's also the first time he was ever pinned in WWE was also by Jey Uso using.
Oh, okay.
Actually, somebody showed the clip, and it's almost the same camera move. Even it's from like the opposite corner, like you're kind of looking over Roman as Jey Uso comes off the top. It was like a 11-on-3 match where it was the Shield against like 3 other combined tag teams.
Gotcha, yeah.
But yeah, so again, a nice bit of long-term storytelling. I'll give them that. And yeah, it definitely seems like they're setting up kind of the last stand of the bloodline, however that works, at SummerSlam.
I just know whenever he's dropping the title, he's going on a vacation. So
You know what? I'll say, even if he hasn't been doing exactly the most vigorous work rate, again, in 3 years, he's defended the title almost as much, or only a little bit more than Orange Cassidy's defended a title he's held since October. But it was interesting. I saw somebody, and this is the hyperbole of the internet, but somebody called the Bloodline the greatest long-term story ever told in professional wrestling. Yeah, obviously that's ridiculous. But it did kind of get me thinking, because I was like, you know what, honestly, usually in wrestling you don't have long-term stories as much as you have status quos. You have like
Right.
Austin and Mr. McMahon as the status quo. You have the NWO, and while things can like change and there can be twists, it's not usually a story as much as just like this is the framework in which this era of wrestling is happening.
yeah, basically.
And while obviously most of it's been made up as they went along, I'll give credit that the Bloodline has had, I think when this is all said and done, you'll be able to see, okay, here like the way this thing rose, the way it fell, here's where they introduced the elements that led to it. There was a graceful off point they had at WrestleMania. They've missed it, but I will say this has been one of the more successful long-term shows they've done, or stories they've done, even if I think it's been great for business. I think it's going to be a problem when it's over because it's left a lot of people looking weak in the background, and I'm
Yes.
not sure. It's been a very great and successful story while it's happening. I don't think it's going to be good in the long run, but hat off to them for doing that. Out of curiosity, and this is a lot to ask top of the head, what would you call the greatest long-term story ever told in pro wrestling?
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it speaks famously to my ability as a pro wrestling fan to remember things. But yeah, it's hard to say. Because a lot of times the things that become long-term stories don't really happen or like on purpose.
Right. It's just like, the Shield got together and then broke up and then got back together again.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see a shape to that if you look, but
Maybe one of the best ones was the rivalry between Bret Hart and Owen.
okay.
I think the way they developed that over time, and the way it kept going was really well done.
Yeah. Down for that. All right. So let's see. One other question, just kind of looking into SummerSlam. If you're booking this, they come to you and you get to write the card, whether it's SummerSlam or later. Who do you have take the belt off Roman? Whether that happens next month or whether you take a few months to set it up, who's your guy from the roster right now that takes that?
See, that's my weakness since I'm not watching the weekly shows. I don't have
Fair.
a lot of inroads into who would be the best. Honestly, I'd let it be Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Still Cody. Should have been Cody earlier, but I think he's still got the credibility. I'm with you on that. All right. So, yep, that was Money in the Bank 2023. Chris, who would you say would be your workhorse on this card?
Ooh, the women's Money in the Bank match.
Yeah.
They really brought it for me.
That whole crew. I just give it to LA Knight.
Yeah,
I
him
think it's
too.
just got so much like old school talent. I don't know who would go in which direction, but I would love to see him and MJF run a program someday. Just imagine
That would be
whether
interesting.
they're against each other, whether they're allies, whether they're...
I would definitely want to see against.
Yeah, those promos would be something else. Got a best dressed of the evening?
I don't. I'll say it this way. I don't have a worst dressed. I think everyone looked pretty good. Shayna Baszler in the eye makeup, but other than that, I think everyone was looking pretty good that night.
I'm gonna put worst dressed on Matt Riddle because the
that's
idiot
fair.
had a busted ankle and he decided to still wrestle barefoot. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you can wear a brace. Come on. Cody Rhodes I think is still my best dressed. Just again, that's a really, really beautiful moment to see the Union Jack on the back of this American man and to know that the wounds of 1776 have finally started to heal.
They'd heal quicker if we stopped talking about it.
All right, so one other thing I kind of wanted to debut was just a new category title for the person who's sort of the worst on the card, who's just someone I feel like sort of kind of anchored things down a little bit. But really, I didn't see that on this card. Like, again, I've said, like, there are people like Ronda and Roman who I think have some weaknesses, but even then, it didn't really feel like that was anything that actually dragged down this card specifically. Like, there's nobody I'd point to say they had a bad night or this card was measurably worse because of them. Which, again...
Well, I think Ricochet would disagree, but okay.
But I should have it be Logan Paul every time. It's never going to be anybody else.
Well, sadly, I wouldn't say it's Logan Paul every time, but he definitely put Ricochet in a spot where he
all right, well,
had to keep him alive. But
okay, yeah, you know what? All right, I'll go. We're going to do this now. In the terminology of Vince McMahon, Logan Paul is the Shane of the night.
oh no,
Just, yeah, what a disappointment. What a letdown.
It's just
Jump off higher things.
just because I'm saying him just because again, when they went to start that spot, he was out of position. He
Yeah.
had to get back in, and
Yeah.
then Ricochet had to cover and at the cost of himself.
Yep. Which, again, thankfully, they apparently are both okay. They were at Raw, and they kind of taped a backstage segment that seems to indicate they're still going to go ahead with a match.
I'm
But-
sure Logan expressed his gratitude by gifting him a free case of Prime or something like that.
God. All right. Well, let's see. So, yeah, overall, a solid card. Went down easy. I give it 3 1/4 out of 5 years in the reopened Uso Penitentiary. David, is there anything coming up for Long Walk that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I know I've been teasing it for like the last 6 weeks, but mother of God, we finally actually need to bring back Long Walk Talks.
You've been yelling that a lot lately.
I know. We got done with Macbeth in May, and I was like, okay, good. We're going to get back into Long Walk Talks. And then I went and got cast in another show, and Stan went on vacation for a week and a half.
It really seems like you've both let us down.
Yeah, it's true. I am a constant source of letdown on this podcast, which is why I'm really glad we have other producers who can come in and record when I'm not available. But we are going to bring back Long Walk Talks in July, so be on the lookout for that coming up in the next week or two.
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you made it out to the store and got the milk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very exciting. And kind of on that note, I do want to say something I forgot to say during our Forbidden Door episode. Thank you so much to producer Kara for stepping in. David was kind enough to FaceTime and help out, but Kara was running the board and got things up and running so Gene and I could do that episode. So I apologize for not recognizing you while we were actually recording that.
Yes, thank you, Kara.
All right. Well, let's see. That I think will wrap us up for right now. Chris, where can people find you if they want to hear more of your thoughts and opinions?
Why would they?
Oh, shoot. I never thought about that.
Twitter, join the tire fire. I'm at Chris the OK on Twitter. That seems like the appropriate place to yell at me, as long as you're not rate limited.
Yeah, we'll see if that comes back. I think he's a little scared of people spending that much time outside. It's actually convenient. I'm just going to say real quick, I was watching my niece and nephew that day, so to be honest, having Twitter be offline was probably tremendously helpful for their safety and well-being.
I got 0 spoilers for the show.
Robert, what about you? If people want to follow you online, where can they do that at?
So I am at RedbeardRob1 on Twitter. I also manage the Twitter account for the combination This Is a Work, This Is a Takeover podcast. It is at @this_pod, which was available when I went for it.
Nice. If you want to keep up with the Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us. To see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming, you can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoy this show or any of the shows on the Long Walk Podcast Network, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
And to paraphrase David Two Dogs Hayes, If you got out of bed this morning, had a job to go to, and someone that loved you, well, it sounds like you've already cashed in your contract and you've won the gold. Thank you for listening to This Is a Work.